Do, 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 do. Left of the box. Hello everyone, this is going to be me trying to do a video kind of off the cuff with everything that's been happening lately. I don't have the bandwidth within inside to really script all of this out, make it when I have another very important project that I plan on working on. So I thought that I'd give this a try, see what I can do just talking to the camera, talking to all of you guys directly and see how well this turns out. So thank you for sticking with me through this. Anyway. With Bennie leaving TYT recently because of Jank and Anna's behavior and comments towards trans folks, there's been a lot happening online, on Twitter, on YouTube. There's been a lot of pushback, a lot of people talking about it. And during that, I've also been brought up. Mike from the Humanist report actually featured me in one of his videos. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. And in it was brought up when last year, it was like April of 2022, I actually went on the conversation to talk with Jank about the language around using terms like birthing people. And at that time, the reason why I was even able to do that was I was a contributor to Rebel HQ, as some of you know. The reason why I ended up on the conversation was a New York doctor, one of the head doctors, had released a tweet with the term birthing people in it, and she used it a couple times, and the way the tweet was laid out and everything, it was kind of clumsy. But my issue was Jank and Anna were mocking her for just even trying to use that inclusive language. This, me being a non-binary person, this really upset me. So I wanted to talk to them about it or bring attention to this issue. Now, keep in mind, I had only been with Rebel HQ for a month at this point, and I felt it really important to address this because it's not like me to see something like this and not say something, not try to push back on it. And I knew with me being so new there, I was taking a risk doing this, that I might get on their bad side, that, me maintaining my job there might become a little bit more difficult if they saw me as somebody like a ship disturber or somebody to make a stir about something like this, that I might come across as too woke or be somebody who might make a big issue out of everything, which wasn't the case, but I knew I had no security in that position. And I did it anyway. Even though I knew there was a small chance, but there was a chance that my employment there might have come to an end much sooner than it did. So I had asked the people who, I wouldn't say they're my managers, but the producers, if I could either have a conversation with Jank and Anna about this or even make a Rebel HQ video clipping what they said. And it came back to me that Jank was open to having a conversation with me, but it was going to be on the conversation, which I wasn't necessarily comfortable with because I love watching debates online, but I had never been in a debate. And with me, I like to have practice with this sort of thing, especially if it's somebody who I've never talked with before. I wouldn't say I was intimidated by Jank, but there was that feeling of like, here's somebody that I've looked up to, that I kind of admired at that point, and this is my chance to talk to him, and it's going to be on something a little bit contentious. So I wasn't necessarily thrilled about that, but at the same time, it's also not in me to back down when I've made a statement like this, when I've made an issue of this. Truth be told, if neither of those issues, like if I couldn't have gotten on the conversation and talked with them, and I couldn't have made a Rebel HQ video about it, I would have made a video about it for my channel. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a shit disturber. Anyway, so part of my frustration with the conversation with Jank was it was really only 12 minutes of dialogue. I didn't get any chance to even talk to him ahead of time. Like when I bring people onto my channel or even when I'm going onto their channel, I like to have about 10 to 15 minutes where I just kind of talk to them and get the feel for them, warm up into it, that type of thing. And I left that conversation at the end of it. He said something that was very dismissive, but since it was at the end of the time that we had, I couldn't even really respond to it. I address a lot of this in my first video that I made about Jank and Anna after her birthing people tweet. So that is basically how that was dealt with, and There wasn't much in the way of issues from that point on when it came to them addressing non-binary folks and trans folks. That wasn't really something that they were doing much of at that time. Now, I did end up leaving Rebel HQ because a lot of people on Twitter are saying that TYT has lost a lot of their trans and queer hosts over the past few months. But really, I left Rebel HQ back in fall of last year for other reasons. The short of it is, my videos weren't getting the views that they wanted. There is a long view of this. I wouldn't really say that there were issues behind the scenes. Like, everyone on staff treated me really well, but there were things I was concerned about. Not about me being queer, not about me being non-binary. Just want to make that clear, but I don't know if I should get into it here, how appropriate that is. So if I feel the need to go further into depth, I will put that in another video. This isn't the main point of this video. So yeah, I left in fall of last year. However, it was made very clear, and we had talked about it, the door was not closed to me from coming back onto the network. It was basically, you know, work on my videos, work on my style, work on building my audience. And if all of that is good, then yes, I could potentially very much be able to go back onto TYT in some capacity, which, you know, I was really hoping to do, because despite the stressors, the underlying stressors while I was working at Rebel HQ, I really did enjoy my time there. But when Anna went on her birthing person tweet and Jank doubling down on it and everything, that hit me very personally. Because, for one thing, I knew that wasn't the first time that Jank and Anna had actually been confronted with this, because I had that conversation with Jank. And it really hurt me, because it felt like all the stress that I went through, me having to kind of, you know, push through this, having the conversation with him, even though it took a lot out of me mentally, personally, to do that. It felt like all of that meant nothing. That it was just kind of brushed aside and meant nothing. Oh shit, did I hit record? Yes, okay. Again, I'm not used to doing these off the cuff. I did hit record. So I felt really hurt by that. And then I felt really hurt by Jank's reaction to it. So I felt it necessary to make that first video saying the left has problems. These videos will be linked below for people to see. It was not easy for me to make that video, because I knew that by doing that, I was in essence closing the door to any chance I had of getting back on the network. To me, that wasn't a good enough reason to not speak up. Well, when it comes down to it, there's very few reasons that I would feel is not a good reason for me to speak up on these sorts of things. So I made that video, and then a little while later, when Anna decided to just randomly out of the blue call out Olaini about what she said but didn't say well on the Leftist Mafia, it blew up again, and this time there was really no excuse. Anna knew. She knew what she was doing at this point. And that also got me very angry, so I made that second video just about how it got worse, and me as a TYT contributor feeling the need, or former contributor feeling the need to actually speak out. With that video, I knew I was welding the door shut. The people who were mentioning me, they didn't know this. A lot of people didn't even realize that I had left the network, which I take as a compliment. I don't know, that I made such an impact that people hadn't even realized that I hadn't been with them for months at this point. So it's not inaccurate to say that they lost me, a queer non-binary person, in the past few months because of their attitude. Because the reality is, even if they had wanted me back on, even if I had been on, if I were on the network at that point, I would have quit. And yeah, I welded the door shut to me ever going back on. I knew that's what I was doing, and I didn't care. Because as much as I adore the network, I adore many of the hosts there, I cannot stand for what Jank and Anna are doing and what they've become. And again, I just want to make it clear to a lot of people, this isn't easy for me. Doing what I did wasn't easy for me, because TYT, like there's a whole path to lead to where I am right now. And they really started it back when I started watching them back in 2016 during the election of Donald Trump. And that really got me motivated to, for me to try to make my stand in politics, which didn't work out. And eventually, circled around for me starting my YouTube channel, the influences I had along the way and everything. And so getting to be part of that network, getting to actually, for them to recognize me out of all the people who watch and all of the many content creators who watch and are inspired and have been inspired by TYT, they noticed me. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that the month that I got hired there, that month, was the best I have ever felt in my entire life. The validation, just the thought that I actually have a chance. This is a real chance now to make a difference, that I'm going to have a wider audience, that I can get the message out there, that I can reach so many people. And the comments that I were getting on my Rebel HQ videos were reflecting that. So many people, especially people with disabilities, who feel like they've never been heard. But since I'm a person with a disability and I know and am very close to lots of people with disabilities, I feel it's important to add that context to a lot of the news articles coming out and how that affects people with disabilities. There were many comments from people with disabilities just saying that for the first time they really felt acknowledged. Doing this type of thing, getting our voices out there, is the reason why I'm doing all of this. I'm not making these videos for attention or for clicks. That's never been my style. I want to make a difference somehow, some way, and this is the best that I know. This is the best way that I can do it. So getting that job on Rebel HQ and the potential of where that could lead meant so much to me. Closing that door and welding it shut was hard, but necessary. So now it gets into Jank and Anna and why they're doing what they're doing. Do I think they're grifters? No. And I think it's intentional. With Jank, I wouldn't say with Jank it's so much intentional as in he is just being reactionary. He does have underlining transphobia, like most people, including myself as a non-binary person, has. He's reacting in a way that's actually making him lean into it more, which is really bad. Being able to confront the issues within, because, growing up in this Western white culture, heteronormative culture, it's in all of us, the societal racism, the homophobia, the transphobia. It's in all of us, and we need to acknowledge it when it happens. I have friends around me who have called me out on things that I've said or corrected me on how to say things or things that I should say. And I am grateful when they do that because it helps me to grow. And I want to grow. I want to become a better person. I want to become a better ally to groups I'm not a part of. But Jank is doing the opposite right now. And that's actually causing a lot of harm. I don't think he's grifting. He's just reacting. He's being stubborn. Anna is a different story. Again, I don't think she's grifting. This isn't a grift. And this is where I get into a little bit more conflicted feelings because I don't know, I don't know how appropriate it is for me to speculate on the reasonings behind how she's turning when it is potentially very personal reasons for her, very vulnerable reasons, and I haven't been doing this long enough. Well, yeah, this is my autistic brain. I don't know what's appropriate. So I don't know if it's appropriate for me to really say a lot of why I think she's doing what she's doing. The short of it is, trauma changes you. It will never define you, but it does change you. And some people, the way that they deal with it is by not dealing with it. And it can actually, once you've made that decision to close the door on healing, to not acknowledge it, to not work on it, to not try to deal with that trauma, it can actually be very freeing. And you might actually in that moment feel really good because now you don't have to deal with that. And I think that's a lot of what's going on. And unfortunately, given the dynamics of the political sphere and the right wing and the left wing and all that sort of stuff, the right wing is encouraging that, and she's being drawn to it because it's safer for her. And I also think she's transphobic. Like, again, it's all, it's levels, it's degrees, it's a spectrum. You know, I believe that she thinks that we should have equal rights, but, you know, there's always that but, this and this and this, and, you know, do it to my terms and all that sort of bullshit. I believe a lot of that is going on as well. That basically the right is helping her to embrace her inner turf, her inner transphobia, which, you know, leads to a lot of very harmful consequences when you have a platform that big, the influence that she has. And after this last little blow up with them having, Jank and Anna having yet another video about trans women in sports, and Anna's little Twitter rants and Jank's Twitter rants, me being especially sensitive to this topic right now because of a targeted hate attack in my city, it hurt a lot. At this point, again, I don't have the energy, I don't have the spoons to go into detail on this. Like I said, there's a very special project that I want to work on that has a timeline. So it has to be out on a certain date. So that will be my next focus over the next while. And if I get that done and I feel like I can tackle this, I will. Also, if people want me on their shows to talk about this, I'm more than happy, because probably an autistic thing, when I'm in conversation with people, it's a lot easier for me to communicate what I'm trying to say than when I'm just talking to my camera, imagining all you wonderful people behind it. And it doesn't take as much out of me to do that. So we'll see how it goes. So with all of this, the main reason why I wanted to hop on here and do this, short video, me doing a short video, haha, yeah, right, is because Friday, before the main TYT show, 10 of the volunteer moderators for their chats quit en masse with a very powerful statement as to why they were doing that. I just want to say thank you. I have so much respect for you right now, because I know it's not easy. It's not easy to break ties with a place that has influenced you, has encouraged you, has supported you. And so I just want to let you know how much it's appreciated that you made this stand. I was on Dan's show, The Power Report, a few nights ago. Please go check it out. And in it, I wasn't being hard on him or some of the other people that I know of who still have relationships with TYT, who may still potentially go on TYT shows. Because somebody like Dan and somebody else I know from Rebel HQ, they have no power there. You know, them not showing up for a day does nothing, because they're not there on a daily basis. They don't contribute on a daily basis. But when it comes to the other hosts of the main shows, Nina Turner, Dr. Rashad Ritchie, JR, John, what are you doing? You espouse all these values all the time of what it means to be a progressive, as standing up for people. And I get it's hard, but I see all of you in your role models. And I know it's different in the States for me sitting in this very safe place up in Canada where, you know, my health insurance is not tied to employment. And I know John is becoming a new dad and all of the stress that goes behind that. But what if it turns out his daughter is his son? And the child looks back to this moment and wonders why their father didn't make a stand. It's tough. I get it. But there are times in everybody's life when your morals, your values, your ethics are going to be tested. And those are the moments that define who you are. This is the moment that is testing all of the other main hosts on the network. They're the ones that have the power to really get through to Jank. Anna, let's just say with Anna, it's going to take a much larger intervention of people she personally knows on a more personal level, off camera, all that sort of stuff. She needs help. And I don't mean that to be condescending or mean. She really does need help to deal with her trauma. Also, all of that does not justify what she's doing. All of that does not justify what Jank is doing. Lots of people go through struggles, traumas, and they come out and they don't hurt other people. Or if they do, they want to be better and they work on it. I've had a pretty traumatic life in general. That would never give me an excuse to be a horrible transphobe. So I have that clip that I've posted on Twitter again, where Anna, during the Dave Chappelle transphobic jokes issue, she actually agreed that, the workers walking out for a day to make a statement was good and effective. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get the other hosts, people who work at TYT, to do. I'm not asking them to quit, because again, that is very difficult to do in this economy with health insurance, all that sort of stuff. I get it. Losing jobs right now can be detrimental. However, there are hosts on that network who don't need TYT. They're doing just fine. They have a lot less of an excuse for not making a public statement. They can quit. That is a values test. However, if they were also to join the other people who don't necessarily have that security, to step out for a day, that solidarity between each other would protect each other, because Jank can't fire everyone. And if they're not doing it because they're worried they will get fired, that says a lot about who Jank is as a person. I used to admire him. I like his passion, how revved up he can get in a video. I tend to get very emotional in my videos, as people know, and that is something that I appreciated from him. TYT helped made me who I am, and for that I'm always grateful. However, who I am is the type of person to stand up to authority, to call out something when I see something going wrong, to not let it slide, no matter who it is. Hence why I'm taking on my entire country. That's why I'm calling out my country as much as I can, because those are the values my country actually helped to instill in me. Just like those are the values TYT helped to instill into me, was to call out and fight back. And that's what I'm doing. Again, huge thank you to all the moderators who took that bold move and stepped down from being a moderator. Much respect. I know it wasn't easy. If I haven't already, poke me on Twitter and I'll follow you back. Also, please subscribe to my channel. There will potentially come a time when I start doing live streams and I might need a moderator myself. I don't know. I want to do live streams. The autistic brain is battling me on that. So thank you. And since this isn't scripted, I have no idea how to end this video. So bye.